Once upon a time, there lived a girl called Cinderella. Cinderella had a stepmother and two mean and ugly sisters. They made Cinderella do all the work while they dressed themselves in fine clothes and enjoyed themselves from morning till night. One day, an invitation came from the royal palace. There was to be a grand ball, and everyone was invited. "Everyone but you," said the ugly sisters, "for of course you cannot go to the ball in your ugly old clothes." Cinderella helped the sisters get ready for the ball. She curled their hair and laid out their dresses and ran upstairs and downstairs a dozen times, fetching and carrying, buttoning their buttons and tying their ribbons. At last they were ready and drove off in their carriage. "Oh, how I wish I could go to the ball," sobbed poor Cinderella. "Well, my dear, and why not?" said a voice. Cinderella looked up and saw a beautiful fairy. "I am your fairy godmother," said the fairy, "so please stop crying and we'll see what we can do." Cinderella stopped crying at once and did exactly as her fairy godmother told her. Cinderella fetched a pumpkin, a pair of mice from the mousetrap, and a friendly rat from the garden. And the fairy godmother turned them into a carriage, a pair of fine horses, and a splendid footman. Then she touched Cinderella's raggedy old dress with her magic wand, and suddenly Cinderella was wearing a beautiful ball gown. "Quickly, quickly," said the godmother as Cinderella climbed into the carriage, "for you must promise to be back by midnight." Cinderella went to the ball, and she looked so very beautiful that the prince immediately fell in love with her. He would dance with no one else the whole night through. On the stroke of midnight, Cinderella remembered her promise to the fairy godmother, and she ran from the prince's arms. She ran so quickly that she slipped out of one of her beautiful glass slippers. Just as she left the palace gate, the carriage turned into a pumpkin, and all Cinderella's fine things disappeared. The prince was heartbroken to lose the beautiful girl. The next day, he sent out all his messengers to find the girl whose foot would fit into the tiny slipper. Far and wide the messengers searched. At last they came to Cinderella's house. The feet of the ugly sisters were much too big to fit the slipper, so the messengers asked Cinderella to try it. Cinderella tried on the slipper, and of course it fitted her because it was hers. Then the fairy godmother appeared again, and with one touch of her wand, Cinderella was once again dressed in beautiful clothes. A royal holiday was announced, for it was the wedding day of the prince and Cinderella. Cinderella forgave the ugly sisters and her stepmother, and they all went to the wedding and had a very good time. And Cinderella and her handsome prince lived happily ever after. Once upon a time, a boy named Jack lived with his mother in a bare little cottage. Now Jack was good-hearted, but he cared so much more for play than he did for work that his mother was hard put to keep them both fed. One by one she sold all their poor belongings, and at last the time came when they had nothing left but a cow. "We must sell her too, Jack," sighed his mother. "Take her to market, but see that you get a good price, for when that is gone, I don't know how we shall live." Away went Jack, meaning to make a sharp bargain, and driving the cow before him. But as he neared the town, he fell in with a little old man who admired the cow and offered to buy her. "She's a very fine cow. What will you give me?" asked Jack. "These," said the little old man, and he held out a handful of beans, so shiny and bright-colored that Jack could scarcely wait to own them. "Done!" he cried. and without a moment's thought, he gave the cow to the little old man and went running home with the beans. His mother didn't think them wonderful at all. "Jack, Jack," she cried, "your folly has ruined us at last." Bursting into angry tears, she tossed the beans out of the door, and poor Jack crept off to bed feeling both hungry and ashamed. But in the morning, when he looked out of the window, he leaped out of bed in surprise. The beans had sprouted in the night, and from them had grown an enormous beanstalk. Up and up it went like a great ladder, until its topmost leaves were lost in the clouds. "They were wonderful beans after all," cried Jack, and he was soon out of the door and climbing up that strange beanstalk. When at last his head was above the clouds, Jack found himself in a vast, barren land with nothing in sight but a great, forbidding castle. Being very hungry after his long climb, he went straight to its door to ask for a bit to eat. A huge woman answered his knock and stared down at him with fear and amazement. "Whoever you are and however you came here," she cried, "you must go away before my husband comes home." Now Jack was frightened in spite of himself, but he was hungry too. He asked for a crust of bread so earnestly that the woman took pity on him and led him into her huge kitchen. Just as she did, great pounding footsteps came towards the castle. The floor quaked, the walls trembled, and the woman's face paled. "My husband's coming," she whispered, and she hid Jack in her huge oven. This was only in the nick of time, for into the room strode a huge man, twice the size of the woman and terrible to behold. "Fee, fi, fo, fum," he bellowed as he came. "I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." He looked under the table and in all the corners, and just as he reached for the door of the oven, his wife found her voice. "No one's here," she quavered. "'Tis only your good supper that you smell." She quickly set an enormous platter of plump roast geese on the table, and grumbling to himself, the giant sat down and ate every one. Then he took 2 money bags from under the table. Opening one, he played with the shining coins until he fell asleep in his chair. Now out of the oven crept Jack. He drew the other bag out from under the giant's very nose. Holding it tightly, he was soon out of the castle and safely down the beanstalk. When Jack's mother saw the giant's gold, she could scarcely contain her joy. The two lived in plenty for many months, but then the last piece was spent, and Jack went climbing the beanstalk again. This time the giant's wife scolded him roundly for running off with the gold. But her heart being good, and her life a lonely one, she finally let him in and brought him a huge apple tart. Jack had no more than tasted it, when again the castle began to shake like an aspen leaf. The woman paled and hid him in her wood box, and just as the lid fell shut, in strode the giant. "Fee, fi, fo, fum," he roared. "I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive or be he dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." He looked under the table and in all the corners. He peered into the oven, and he put one big hand on the lid of the wood box. "Oh, come," cried his wife, quickly setting a platter full of whole roast pigs at his place. "'Tis only your good supper that you smell." The giant soon fell to eating. When he had done, he amused himself with a small speckled hen that laid a golden egg every time he roared, "Lay!" But at length he grew weary and snored away in his chair. Jack hopped out of the woodbox and took up the little hen. He went hurrying out of the castle and down the beanstalk. Now Jack and his mother wanted for nothing in all the world. But Jack climbed the beanstalk once again. This time, when the giant fell asleep, Jack took a beautiful singing harp and went running out of the door. But no sooner was he well outside than the harp stopped playing and called out, "Wake, my master, wake!" Wake the giant did. Fortunately, he was still clumsy with sleep, and fortunately, Jack went running like the wind. Even so, as his feet touched the ground, the giant was halfway down the beanstalk. "Mother," cried Jack, "bring the hatchet." His mother came running, and with his first blow, Jack had cut the beanstalk in two. Down it came, crashing across the meadows, and down came the cruel giant, dead as a stone from that day to this. Jack's mother was so happy to have her son safely home that she cooked a fine meal almost big enough for a giant to eat. Jack did full justice to his share, and while he did, the little hen clucked merrily and the little harp played joyfully. One summer day, the little red hen found a grain of wheat. "A grain of wheat," said the little red hen to herself. "I will plant it." She asked the duck, "Will you help me plant this grain of wheat?"
"Not I,"
said the duck. She asked the goose, "Will you help me plant this grain of wheat?" "Oh, not I," said the goose. She asked the cat, "Will you help me plant this grain of wheat?"
"Not I,"
said the cat. She asked the pig, "Will you help me plant this grain of wheat?"
"Oh, not I,"
said the pig. "Then I will plant it myself," said the little red hen, and she did. Soon the wheat grew tall, and the little red hen knew it was time to reap it. "Who will help me reap the wheat?" she asked.
"Not I,"
said the duck. "Oh, not I," said the goose.
"Not I,"
said the cat.
"Not I,"
said the pig. "Then I will reap it myself," said the little red hen, and she did. She reaped the wheat, and it was ready to be taken to the mill and made into flour. "Who will help me carry the wheat to the mill?" she asked.
"Not I,"
said the duck. "Not I," said the goose.
"Not I,"
said the cat.
"Not I,"
said the pig. "Then I will carry it myself," said the little red hen, and she did. She carried the wheat to the mill, and the miller made it into flour. When she got home, she asked, "Who will help me make the flour into dough?"
"Not I,"
said the duck. "Not I," said the goose.
"Not I,"
said the cat.
"Not I,"
said the pig. "Then I will make the dough myself," said the little red hen, and she did. Soon the bread was ready to go into the oven. "Who will help me bake the bread?" said the little red hen.
"Not I,"
said the duck. "Not I," said the goose.
"Not I,"
said the cat.
"What, not I?"
said the pig. "Then I will bake it myself," said the little red hen, and she did. After the loaf had been taken from the oven, it was set on the window sill to cool. "And now," said the little red hen, "who will help me to eat the bread?"
"I will,"
said the duck. "Oh, I will," said the goose.
"I will,"
said the cat.
"Oh, I will,"
said the pig. "Oh, no, I will eat it myself," said the little red hen, and she did.